Shout out, shout out, the Connects, Luis Guzman. Don't ever go, never leave my side. Passion's all I have, courage is my drive. And if I lost you, I would lose it all together. I wouldn't have
Welcome to I'm an Artist, Not a Salesman podcast, where we highlight the journey of entrepreneurs and business people alike to showcase that every light and dark moment creates a beautiful piece of art. This is episode 31. I am your host, Luis Guzman. My guest today is co-creator and CEO of Stache Barbers in Union, New Jersey, a master barber and licensed cosmetologist with a heart for giving back to his community through his nonprofit foundation, Stache Foundation, providing free haircuts and confidence to the children in the community. A business creative as well, infusing the Stache Barbers brand into all lifestyle verticals such as a clothing line, coffee brand, a Stache Barbers IPA, partnering with local businesses such as Van Gogh's Ear to bring Stache coffee to local shops, and personalized events such as Cars and Coffee and Gentleman's Sunday. Over 10 years of service in New Jersey as a barbershop CEO and a philanthropist, it's fair to say that he has not only not scratched the surface of the true greatness he has stepped into, but he has way more left to go. Michael Checo, or as I like to say, Checky Check, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Lou.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you making time. Fresh off the plane.
Yeah, man.
Fresh off the plane. We talked yesterday, and you're like, "Yo, I'm in Colombia, but then I'm going to Houston, but I'll be there."
Yeah.
You know, like as soon as we hit record, and you, as promised, you're here.
I got here. All right, here. I made it.
My brother, man. Thank you so much for making time, bro. I appreciate you, man. So I always start off every conversation the same way, so I'm gonna ask you the same thing. Who is Michael Checo? Or Checky Check, as I call you.
Yeah, well, a lot of people call me Checo, and that's pretty much it. Was it's my last name that became a nickname that kind of just became my name.
Like, I know ever since I've known you.
Yeah, there's very few people that, like, I guess in the elements that I'm in, very few people know my name is Michael. I know people for over 10 years that they don't find out my name is Michael for a long time. But it's a simple thing. It's just Michael's a very common name. People started calling me by my last name. Sounds like a nickname, and it just grew from there. And then certain elements of my life it became more prominent of a prominent name. It's more distinguished. It makes you stand out a little bit more. It's not a common name, but it's very easy.
It's not. And it's also lineage based, right? Yeah. Family.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, it's like I'm representing, like, it's my family. It's known. It's a prideful name for me. But then that's why I have no problem stating or saying it. And I think for people, it's just a very easy name to kind of remember. You'll meet 100 Michaels in your lifetime.
Yeah.
So many. And then you say the name like Checo, people's like, what? Is that a real name or whatever? And then they'll see that everybody in every circle I'm in calls me Checo. And they're like, oh, that has to be his name. There's no way this many people call him by his nickname.
Exactly.
There's not a family,
Yeah.
So then people think that that's my real name, and then they're just intrigued, like, oh, where are you from? Or this is not.
It starts the conversation.
Yeah.
It's a cool name. I mean, honestly, it's just cool. I mean, it's 2 syllables. It's easy to remember. It's easy to say. So it flows off the tongue easy. And like I said, it's just a cool name. Like when I first met you, I remember the name, and I was like, that's a cool name. But it's not something you really give it too much thought in the beginning.
No.
But right now, as I'm saying your real name, I'm like, nah, check it.
Yeah, because it's weird because you're like Michael Checo. People's like, kind of weird, yeah.
No, but again, the platform, man, is to tell your whole story, brother, and where you came from, and where you are currently and where you're going. And I mean, I know you, personally. I mean, we've been friends for almost 10 years. But I want to go back to like a young Checo, right? Because I noticed, and I'm saying this because I know you personally. I see a lot of the same characteristics your father instilled in you. And what I mean by that is that you're a boss. Like, you are a CEO, you are a hustler, a salt of the earth entrepreneur. That's what you are. Can you tell me how you developed that, seeing your father with the Bodega? And people don't know about the Bodega, but I want you to talk about that. Like,
so I grew up, I'm the youngest of 3. I have 2 older sisters. And when my first kind of like real recollection of like life and me like understanding things was at a very early age. I lived in Newark. I was on South 18th Street with 14th Ave. Yeah. So
I know my dad on the
Yeah.
bar on that same
Yeah,
block.
yeah, we had this conversation. Me and Luke go back, so sometimes
So way back.
we could talk about things that people might not understand, but
It's true.
Yeah, we have a long history.
Wow, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
It's off
so
18th.
right there. So I grew up in that area. So when you grow up in situations like that, you mature very quickly in certain aspects. You see life through very different avenues and lanes and stuff like that. So I didn't have much to do as a young kid as an outside perspective, right? Like I couldn't go to a backyard. I couldn't be outside. I couldn't play. I couldn't do certain things, right? It was just school, at home, or my father's bodega. So my outreach and my escape was always the bodega. So I'm chilling around 30, 40 old men as a 5-year-old, as a 4-year-old, you know? And it was just, you're getting a view of that life and you learn how to talk very maturely. You understand how to talk to adults and you speak differently. Not really like I understand, but I'm having more mature conversations on a day-to-day basis because I'm around those guys more than I am around anybody else.
Right.
So when I get around my friends and my kids and stuff like that, or like other kids, I don't know. I have a different outlook. Teachers or adults always gravitate to how I talk or how I am, my charisma, everything. And the only thing I could base it off is how I grew up. But now that I have a daughter, she's very much the same. And I'm like, she ain't grow up in the same, you know, like she's not growing up the same. I think it's just like a character, like who I am.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and I think that's beautiful because you are, I think a lot of times, you know, we come from hard backgrounds, right?
Yeah.
Like we come from, we got it how we could get it. Our parents were, you know, trying to survive, trying to make it happen, trying to figure things out. And, you know, you're blessed to be in this position now where your daughter can see that, but you're still not, you're kind of showing her the roots of how you learned.
yeah, of course.
know?
The thing is, right, my father, like our parents come from, they get their kind of like their focus or their fire from their environment, right? They see how they live, they see their situation, and that's what motivates them to hustle and get out of that, right? So what I feel like what we have to instill in our kids or our next generation is their internal fire, because they're no longer living in the situation that our parents or we grew up in.
Yeah.
My daughter doesn't live in the situation that I grew up in, or my father, even worse, you know, like she didn't see that. So I have to figure out a way to instill an internal fire in her to keep pushing forward.
I agree 100% because
they're not living in the same situation.
they're not living this. It's funny because you're saying that, and I'm thinking about what Kevin Hart said one time. He said, "My kids are so like spoiled and entitled because, you know, I'm a celebrity, I'm famous, I'm rich. I have to manufacture adversity and trouble and some type of like struggle. I got to manufacture struggle for them."
Yeah.
Because they have to learn, like, you know, you got this and we're blessed, but it came from hard work. So even though we're good, I still want to instill in you.
Yeah, you have to teach them. It's an internal way. Like, you know, like I don't think, I guess in other ways, like, I don't look at it as like I have to create struggles for my daughter. I just have to teach her that it comes from hard work. It comes from this, and it comes from that, and kind of figure out a way to spark the internal fire, because my fire was external. My father's fire was external. It's our living situation, what we see in the outside world. My daughter's not seeing the same. She is seeing a very motivated father, a very motivated grandfather, and she sees the hard work, but the other stuff they don't see as much. So it's kind of like I got to make sure that the internal fire is lit too.
Absolutely. How do you do that? How do you keep the internal fire lit for her at this young age?
I mean, yeah, my daughter's very young, but it's kind of like just keeping anything that she has an interest to is putting the flame to it and letting her take off with it and pushing and showing stuff and real like rewards and real consequences to things. You
That's
know,
awesome, man.
it was just her birthday. I just bought her iPad. Right?
Happy birthday.
So this is a funny story.
Yeah.
So she had one, and she didn't really use it. We used it on long car rides and stuff like that. And she wasn't behaving. So I said, all right, like you don't get an iPad. And I took away her iPad. I gave it to my niece. And most parents won't do that.
Manufacturing struggle.
Technically. So she didn't have one for almost 2 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then she recently was just like, oh, like, we're always playing on, my niece's iPad. And I was like, well, that used to be yours. I was like, you didn't listen, and that's what happened.
So you
got to stick to it. A lot of times, people cave or X, Y, and Z and stuff like that. So it's kind of like you got to show them that like everything that you have isn't just yours. Like it has to be earned, and if it's given to you, it's a gift. But gifts could also be taken away.
And you have to be appreciative, right? Because I think now a lot of the parents that are raising children, they're kind of want to be their friends more than their parent.
Yeah,
and it's almost becoming like a power struggle in the household. And a lot of that reason is because the father, when he's not present, it's hard for a single woman to actually hold it down and to teach the kids these true principles that only a male role model can teach them, whether you have a daughter or a son.
Yeah.
So I think you being that positive male role model in her life, but also being her father, that is such a blessing that you're giving her, man, because when she gets older, the return is going to be tenfold for you.
Of course.
To see those gems that you were giving her come to fruition when she's 19, 24, 30, et cetera. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you planting those seeds now it's probably the most beautiful thing you can do as a parent. To instill that internal flame, as you said, to let that keep growing bigger and bigger every year. So that's really dope, man. And speaking of flame, so let's go back to your dad real quick. So you guys you're born and raised in Newark? Did you come
I was
from
born
DR?
in Washington Heights.
Oh, Washington Heights. Okay, you're born in New York. Okay.
I was born in New York, and then I know we lived a very short stint in Dominican Republic, and then we came back, we lived in Newark.
Gotcha.
So by the time I was 3, I was in Newark.
And then 5 years old, hanging out with the 30-year-olds.
Yeah, just living in Bodega, normal, like... Newark early 90s street activities going on.
Stolen cars everywhere.
Yeah, it was wild. Newark in the 90s was wild.
It was very wild, man.
So yeah, just growing around that environment, my parents trying to protect me, they sheltered me, but it's also like we live in a 2-bedroom apartment and there's 3 kids running around. I had nothing to do, and I'm a very curious kid. I was always doing stuff, trying I don't know. Just I like to be active. That's what I call my daughter. I'm an active kid. I was an active kid. My daughter's an active kid. And I think my parents just send him to the bodega, let him do something, burn this energy out.
Yeah.
Do something. So I would stock fridges. I would work behind the register. Awesome. I would do all this stuff, and even stuff that it wasn't easy for me to do. I couldn't even work the register, so I would get a milk crate to stand up and grab this stuff. I wouldn't let anything stop me. And they'd be like, "Yo, Poppy, why your son behind there?" And my dad's like, "Yo, just let him be, yo. The only thing you can't grab is the cigarettes, and that's it. Yeah. But everything else, I was there. And then once I got a little bit older, I really grew fan to the kitchen, and then I started just really working the kitchen.
Sandwiches, and stuff
making
like that.
sandwich, building the sandwich. I just love the kitchen. Yeah,
there's nothing like a bodega sandwich.
Yeah, it's the best.
There's nothing. What's your favorite bodega sandwich?
Oh man, either Italian cheeseburger or I like a chicken cheesesteak.
Oh
yeah,
God, those you picked 2 great ones, because that would have been mine, bro.
Yeah.
So that's dope. So you went from running the register, stocking shelves, making sandwiches. Now, did you work in the bodega with your dad throughout the entire adolescence, or
until I was about 9 or 10?
Is this when he was in Freelaheisen or still?
No. This is way before. This is South 18th Street.
So we're still South 18th.
In that time, my dad had one on South 18th Street. Then he had one on 18th and 18th, and then he had a wholesale in Irvington, which is on Grove and 16th.
Wow.
So it was a triangle. If you look at the map and stuff.
The map.
So then by that time we lived in Union.
Okay.
And at that time I already met Chaz. I had started already kind of working in the barbershop. But in the summertime, my mom would be like, we work in the stores. So it was me and my cousin. I think 2005 was the last time I worked.
2005? Okay.
Yeah, 2005 was the last time I worked at Bodega. And I was at one bodega with no family members. Right, as in everybody that worked there was my dad's business partner and stuff like that, but there was no immediate family member. My mom worked at one with one of her brothers, my cousin, and another one of her brothers, and then my dad worked at the wholesale with my oldest sister, sometime my younger sister, and him. So everybody had the different bodegas and stuff that they worked at.
I'm intrigued. I mean, that's like, look at that enterprise, a family business, and like the jewelry that they were just giving you, like your parents just recklessly throwing jewelry around, like, you know, and you're just picking it up unconsciously, like, wow. It kind of shows me why you're so great at what you do now today, because you got those gems.
It plays a role, definitely, because growing in that atmosphere, it just shows that, like, at the end of the day, there's a job to get done, right? Mm-hmm. Whether you work in the register, doesn't matter. You might have to go get the mop and do the mop. Ain't no cleaning person. At the end of the day, we open and we close. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody's there to open, and at the end of the day, we clean. The person at the register is counting the register, make sure everything's good. The person in the kitchen, cleaning the whole kitchen. The person that does the soda and all that stuff, they mop and they doing the stuff. Everybody has a job. And then at the end of the day, we all there closing the gates together.
I love it. Because
we got to watch out and all that stuff. But then also my dad having all those other businesses, there's days that I'm like, oh, I got to go to the other one and just help out. Mm-hmm. And I think that has carried over, as I think I've always carried that, as no matter who you are or what business I am, I have no problem shifting and
getting my hands dirty.
Getting my hands dirty. Like I say this a lot to anybody that I've ever worked with or done business with. I would never ask of anybody anything that I wouldn't do myself.
Exactly what I just told Julian off camera. It's so crazy you say that, because I was just talking to Julian. Julian's our engineer. Hello, Julian. Because the guy that you hear the great quality from. So we were having a conversation off camera, and I specifically said that same thing. I said, I would never ask you to do something I wouldn't do myself. And I think that comes from like the mentality of hustle, entrepreneurship, where it's like you care about something so much, you would do anything to make sure it's successful. So that means sometimes, hey, I'm going to have to, count the register. Sometimes I'm going to have to make a sandwich. Sometimes I got to be there to open. But it's like, I was saying this to him, it's like being in the same boat together. Like, exactly. Not one person is in the back with their hands folded. Like, you guys, paddle. We're all paddling. Yeah. We're all trying to get to the same destination. So that's a beautiful concept that I think a lot of people that want to be business people and they want to be entrepreneurs, they fail because they lack that.
Well, yeah, everybody wants to have a business and do all this stuff, but the thing is that I think what I learned in that is that it's a team. Mm-hmm. My dad wasn't there by himself. He reaped some rewards and he's able to do more, but he knows that it's all because of his team, and there's a position, So in saying that, I've seen my dad plenty of times have to go to the back of the kitchen and cook himself. Yeah. And he has no problem. At the end of the day, this is my business.
Absolutely.
It's his so business, it's whatever it takes to keep it running.
No pride.
Yeah, there's no ego. There is no ego, and sometimes as you grow or you step away from maybe doing that as much, the team may think that there's ego or there is a pride or something. Or sometimes when you reap the rewards, a lot of times ego could get misconstrued, or that could get misconstrued. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I feel like you always have to humble yourself and be like, I could get right back down and do whatever needs to get done.
Absolutely.
And show this is what it is. I've seen my dad do it plenty of times. He has open and closed business. He's sold. He's done this and all that stuff. So that seeing his driving motivation in the way he does things has always constantly motivated me. Now, granted, I didn't understand. Sorry, I didn't understand that as being young, because he wasn't around a lot. Not in a bad way. My father was always there. He always showed up.
He's a hard worker.
But yeah. But my mom was always the one taking us to school. If I did any extracurricular activity, my mom was there. Mm-hmm. This and that. And that created kind of I didn't understand it. I used to get really frustrated as a kid. Because I felt like it was a thing he didn't care.
Got it.
But he was showing his care by providing. Because he didn't grow up really with a present father figure in his thing, right? So I think the best way he could show love was providing.
Yeah. And I think that's a lot of pressure that I can only speak for us. We're Hispanic, right? Mm-hmm. they put a lot of pressure on the man of the house to provide, and it almost feels like I know I said this before in the last episode, but we feel this angst everywhere we go where we have to provide, we got to succeed, we can't fail. And sometimes you lose sight of what's really important because you're so focused on that little thing right there in front of you. Like, I got to get there. My daughter needs diapers, my mortgage got to get paid, all these things. So we can kind of get lost in our own work.
Yeah.
Seeing your dad do that to you at such an early age and you not understanding that, how do you combat that with your daughter today?
Well, yeah, I have constant conversations with him about it because I take a lot of time off. Now I try to really organize my time and prioritize. Like, I'm only in the shop 3 days a week now.
Nice.
All right.
Nice.
So in those 3 days, I do what I normally do in my days that I was there for 5 or 6.
Right.
I do the same amount of work. My work hasn't slacked at all.
Yeah. Time management.
Yeah, it's just time management.
Yeah.
And my dad, he doesn't understand. But I understand where he's coming from. He just, because I do both. I'm like, because he says, oh no, you got to work, you got to save, you got to do all that stuff. And I'm like, Dad, I'm doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also taking my time with my daughter.
Absolutely.
I'm also enjoying the moments, because I guess it's from an absence of having that push me to do better. Yeah. And if we're not doing better, then what are we really doing?
Absolutely. We see what our parents have put us through, good and bad, and it's not their fault. They didn't know any better. We're all humans trying to figure this out. But you're taking the right step because now you notice what happened when you were young, and you're not letting that repeat itself with your daughter. And when she has kids down the line, Lord willing, that's going to be reciprocated in her family that she starts. So it's a beautiful thing that you kind of like set the imprint for. Like, yeah,
and that's something that I've been like kind of like learning nowadays, that a lot of times people do things, or they want to become entrepreneurs or X, Y, and Z, and they want all this stuff, but they want to reap their rewards. And this is something that I really started kind of putting in my understanding more, is that a lot of these things that I'm doing, it's not for me to see. I'm not going to see the actual final form of it. Mm-hmm. It's not for me. And a lot of these things that I do, whether it's the barbershop, the nonprofit, anything that I set up for my daughter, anything that I do on stuff, I'm not seeing the final form of it. I'm setting it. Anybody that we've seen have fortunate families or big as not, they always go back, oh yeah, the grandfather probably never saw any of that. Never saw it. But they built it, and then they also instilled it in their kids, and then it's generations later. That's how you do it. So I'm coming to terms to understand that I'm probably as much as the imprint that I think I'm making, or people visually, oh, I could see it or this and that, I'm not gonna see the impact that I make.
And I guess, I call it blind faith, right? Because you're doing something in faith for your family, for your future. And it's where you see generations down, there'll be like a painting in the hallway of Checo. And who is that? Oh, that was my granddad. Oh man, he started this and that. So it's that's the lineage that we do it for. It's for the family evolvement down the line, which again, if you're doing it for your family in good faith, you're never going to see that return on investment. And you're not supposed to.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're in the now, and you're here serving your purpose on this earth as much as you can until you're gone. And Lord willing, and the next generation takes over that you left in a good position, and they can continue that. And, it just becomes a passing down of a heritage and family tradition, so to speak, and growing the name Checo. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So that's a beautiful thing, brother. That's a beautiful thing, man. And I think your dad did awesome with you and showed you. It's so weird how he showed you all this without even thinking he was showing you. You were just doing,
Well, that is what being a parent is.
Mm-hmm.
There's no manual, there's no right way to do things. It's just you're trying to be what you think is the best version or best you can do.
Yes.
And then your kids see it. And sometimes they don't acknowledge it until they're older,
mm-hmm.
So I acknowledged it slightly when I was little and it became the man who I am. But then as I got older, I got to actually appreciate what my father did.
Gotcha. No, and like I said, every day you're living in that purpose, which is amazing, bro. So, you know, it's funny because you learned all this stuff from the bodega. And then I want to jump into when you started barbering because, again, here we are where you met Chaz, your partner, your friend, and you were sweeping at his shop.
Yeah.
So, again, walk me through that, but I want to also know, same mentality as the bodega, sweeping, just being a fly on the wall, learning. Tell me that experience with Chaz and how that started Stache.
Well, yeah, me and Chaz have a really interesting and like full circle kind of moment. And a lot of stuff in my life, I feel like has been full circle. So I moved to Union, and within the year that I moved, that barbershop opened. So my sister that was going to the high school heard about it, and they was like, oh, there's a shop. And I'm like, all right, I need a haircut for school. So I went in there, and I got a haircut. It was actually me and one of my cousins. And I didn't even get a haircut from Chaz. My cousin got a haircut from Chaz. I got a haircut from another barber and all that stuff. But I was done first. He was still getting a haircut. And I was just there looking around and just, I think, slightly having conversation, like a barbershop conversation. And he just asked me, he was just like, hey, would you want to sweep up? I'll give you $5. And I was...
And how old were you at the time?
9.
9.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
9. He met Chaz when he was 9. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I was telling Julian off because Julian met Chaz. So 9 years old, you met Chaz, and he gives you $5.
It's crazy, right? So it's crazy. It's like I was 9, but then I also look at it as like Chaz is also 21. So that's a blessing too. Like this man was already to accomplish a lot in his life at like 21. So I look at it now, the fact that we're way beyond those years, both of us. I'm like, that's amazing that you were able to do that at such a young age, because he had a pretty successful barbershop at the age, at 21. I mean, at 21, he was still building and it grew more and stuff like that. But, to me, it was just a cool guy. I didn't even know he owned the shop. He just asked, and I started going there every day, just out of the, me going there was just, it was a cool shop. And my hustle mentality, like I could go there, make some money, chill around some older guys. It was like the bodega, but younger, and they're more like brothers instead of a bunch of like uncles and fathers. Because at the bodega it was uncles and fathers, At this shop, it was more like older brothers. And like I said, I grew up with 2 sisters, so having that yearn to be around, brothers it was
like a calling,
it was like a calling. And I was also one of those kids that I was already into my style. Some kids love getting haircuts and wanted to do it, stuff like that, and some kids hate it. I was one of the kids that always loved getting haircuts. Like I used to be picky with my barbers and all that stuff and everything. My mom used to take me to the salon and try to give me a cut from whatever barber was there. I walked out on barbers before, all before 9. I've done this all as a young kid character. I used to get mad. Like, they used to mess up my haircut. I'm like, nah, get this off. And I used to take the cape off and leave and everything. I've caused my mom plenty of headaches.
Sheesh. So at a young age, you was passionate about barbering.
I was I just knew. I just, like I was into my style. I was into, looks and all that stuff. And I think, I don't know. I feel like everything that I've done now that I'm older and I'm reflecting back on my life a lot more, I see how genuine everything that I've done, and I think that's what's carried me more than everything else that I've done. Like, I could be good at this, I could be good at that, but I think how genuine and pure everything is why we could have moments that I don't speak to you for a while, but I've never been disingenuine or pure with you. So we could link back up and
we never fell off.
And I have that a lot in my life, because I don't think that I've ever really done anything malicious or been disingenuous to anything that I do, and that's why I think a lot of things come full circle back.
100%, man. And I think that's why it's a testament to your success, because I think you can get away with it for a little bit, being successful and being a BSer, But then after a while, people are going to start reading through that and be like, this guy's not really
Well,
who he says he is, or he's not
you got to
authentic.
constantly recreate yourself.
Yeah.
I never had to. I feel like I've been
you've
the
always
same.
been the
I've
same.
been the same.
Like since I met you, I think I met you like 10 years ago, right before Stache opened. And to this day, I can, confidently say you're still the same person.
Yeah,
I
haven't
mean,
changed.
with all the achievements, with all the success, with all the growth that, you achieved, I think it speaks a lot to your character that you are so grounded as an individual. Because I think people can sometimes get lost in the limelight, so to speak. And for you to still be who you are after what you accomplished, number one, it shows the theory that you were instilling into your daughter. A gift is given, but it can be taken away. So the fact that you have all these gifts that you've been blessed with from your hard work, but you're still humble enough to understand that it has to be earned. It's not, I didn't just make it and, okay, treat me different because I have such and such.
Yeah.
I love that about you because I think it doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't really matter how successful you are. When you go to sleep at night, your head hits the pillow. Am I a good person? Did I really infect somebody with change for the positive today? No. Did I do my service on earth today to make myself better or someone else better? And I think that is what got you where you are, besides your gift and talent. But I think that alone, it keeps opening doors for you. Do you agree with that?
I mean, yeah, I think a form of that is definitely, I could agree. It's just, I don't know, man. I think I'm just like a giver. Like if I see somebody that has an opportunity or like needs an opportunity or whatever, I have no problem taking the time and putting somebody under the wing. Like that's how I got.
That's
blessed.
how you got with
I got it. So it's kind of like I'm very much pay it forward. Like if somebody gives me a small like opportunity or a lane, I show up. That's why Chaz is always kind of like, he led the horse to water and I was there, like never trying to let him down. Always trying to like, what do we need to do? Team player. Like any position, I'll cover. Even if I'm not great at it, I'll cover it.
You took the ball and ran with it.
Yeah. I took the ball, and I think that's why we were so successful and why we were able to push things so far.
I mean, let's talk about that, brother. Like you went from being Chaz's apprentice, so to speak, right? At 9 years old, you learned how to cut through Chaz, through different people that taught you, and then what was the genesis of Stache Barbershop? Like, what was that conversation like with you and Chaz?
So, this is a story that I've been saying more recently, but a lot of people don't know. So what happened was we worked in a shop together for about 2 years. And by then, me and Chaz were already doing a lot of work. So once we started working on the same building, it was just like, for me, it just felt like, oh, the game is over. Yeah. We just started taking things over. And it was from doing like hair competitions to hair shows to hosting it to cutting celebrities to doing this to doing that. We were just all over the place. And at the time, I was still very young, so I didn't know what direction. I didn't really have a direction of like where I want to take my career. It was just like I was just learning from all these opportunities I was given. I started like working on stage with Clippers companies. I started getting paid to
endorsements.
Endorsements. I started doing all this stuff before.
And these.
Well, I worked with Wall. Yeah.
Wall, okay,
But still, just being turned on to all this stuff almost like before it got highlighted so the world could see. Because now all this stuff is almost like common knowledge. If you're on Instagram, stuff like you see the barber world, a lot more people are introduced to it. But the build up, I could gratefully say that I was there for a lot of it, right? Like, not taking it away from anybody that built it before us, but I think in the last, we've been open 12 years. So the 10 years prior to that was the big buildup for the whole world to like really see it. And being a part of the team, like exotics, being part of like certain things that had a big leg into blowing it up to where the barber industry is today, made me like see a lot of things very early, but wasn't helping in what direction I was going to.
I got you.
And saying that we were doing a lot, and I was about like I think 18 when we started at the shop together, and then by the time I left, I was 20.
And that's when Stache started.
Yeah.
20.
So
Okay.
what pretty much happened is that we blew up a lot, and people started thinking that me and Chaz owned the shop. This is from my side of the story.
Got it. Gotcha.
This is what
And this is good because I didn't ask Chaz any of this. So
yeah.
we're
So
getting
this is
a
my
different
side of the story.
perspective.
I feel like a lot of people started thinking that we owned the shop, and that kind of made the previous owner feel a type of way because he started acting really differently, right? He started treating us really differently. And also it could be that, like, honestly, we're probably starting to be not the best employees because not because of egotistical or anything like that, but because like we would be like, yo, I have to switch my schedule. I got to go cut so-and-so.
Yeah.
I got to go this. But then we started bringing a lot of them into the shop and bringing in limelight, and everybody we did, we had his cape on it. So we were representing,
So dope, yeah.
but at the end of the day, he still has a business to run. So I could see why. I understand him. I don't think he did things the right way, but I do understand him. I don't falter anybody. I think you learn a lot more from error than you do from success.
Yeah. And when you're looking back at it now, like you're doing now, you're kind of like, going back revisionist history. You don't feel the same feelings you felt through
I
this
never was
person?
angry with him.
Oh,
though.
you're never angry with him?
No,
Okay,
no,
okay.
I'm not.
I know because once you
some
see
people
it,
are,
yeah,
some people are,
yeah.
some people maneuver that way.
And I know exactly.
and they can use
who
that
you're-
as a motivation.
Yeah, yeah. And
I never held a grudge. I never spoke ill of him. And actually, because I said I learned a lot from him.
Right.
I did. He was a very smart business guy, still successful barbershop.
Yeah,
Still successful
yeah.
this and that. I learned a lot, but then I also learned a lot what not to do. There were certain things that I didn't like the way he did, or the way he treated certain things. But as you become a person that gets into his shoes, I see the route he took, and I understand. But just like how my dad, I know what not to do. I know
Correct.
all right, so I see that. I understand that. Let me figure out another way to handle the same situations under the same pressures that they were in.
Understood. Yeah,
Yeah.
you kind of have you have more respect for him now because you weren't in the position he was at the time, and now that you are in that position, you kind of see the crown is heavy. So
Yeah,
when you wear
exactly.
it, you're like, woof. You know what? He did have a point. He probably could have handled it differently.
Yeah, I
but
don't
it
think he
doesn't make
handled
him a
it-
bad person.
No,
you know?
and I
Like-
never did. Yeah, I don't like, one, I never like talking ill of anybody. Two, I'm not a person a lot of people, especially, you come to the barbershop, people want to talk smack all day and stuff like that. And I'm like, I was never one to talk ill of him or anything like that. Sometimes people just want to get it out and be repetitive, and that's their way to get over it, is just talk about it. That's not me.
Yeah.
This is very weird for me. Just
Yeah.
talking about my own
Talking
life.
about your own life,
You
yeah.
reading the first thing about me, that was crazy. I've never had somebody break it down that way. I've always known you had a pen. You have an ill way with words.
Yeah.
I need you to write my bio or something.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
need you to work on something for me. But yeah, I'm not very I think I absorb a lot. I take in a lot of information, but I don't work in a way that I need to talk about it repetitively to get over things. I think I ingest it, I understand it,
Process it, take it
I
for
process
what it is.
it, I take it for what it is, and then once I have a full understanding and I process it, then I figure out how I can move forward.
That's a beautiful way of thinking because I feel like a lot of people, they hold on to bitterness and anger, and that's because they don't know how to just let go and forgive.
Because
they
they keep on repeating, they talk about it.
Yeah,
If something
let it
happens to
go.
them, I see it all the time, and
Yeah.
I work in a barbershop, I see it all the time. If something happens to somebody, they'll tell everybody. The next person. So now 10 people around you know that you're angry about something, right? And you haven't even been fully able to process it. And then when you process it, you're okay with it. But now you instill this anger on 10 people. So now when you get over it and this and that, so now you got to tell all 10 people, yeah, it's all cool now. Don't worry about it. And they're like, what do I do with this emotion that you just bestowed on me?
Yeah, for real. Yeah, because now you're just minding your business, and all of a sudden here comes this negative ball of energy.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
So I never try to do that. And then that comes with its own combat. I'm not saying that that's the right way to do things, because a lot of times I'm real quiet I get real quiet, and people's like, "Oh, he must be pissed off," and I'm like, "Nah, I'm just in my head. I'm just processing my own thoughts and this and that." Sometimes I am angry, and I just still quiet. You know,
It's just it's your demeanor. It's who you are. You're
yeah.
not like a violent person or like an outlandish scream at the top of your lungs.
And my dad has the same characteristic. Like everybody thinks he's real serious.
Yeah, you're
until you get to know him.
Yeah.
And then you see that I all I do is crack jokes all
Yeah,
day.
you're a lighthearted person, man.
I mean, you've been in my chair plenty of times, but we had plenty of laughs.
Oh, man.
And all that stuff.
Absolutely.
So it's just like, I joke about everything. I'm such a jokester. This is not. But on the outside, I have a very like serious and quiet demeanor.
Yeah, you look very stoic. You're like, oh man, this guy, I don't know, is he cool? Is he not? But then when you get to know you on a personal level, nicest guy that I've known. You know what I mean? So that, but everybody has some type of exterior to them that could be rigid. It could be, some people are on the opposite. They're too outgoing, and you're like, oh, this guy's a little wild. Yeah. But it's still who you are. And I think getting back to the point, you are who you are, and you've always been that. You know what I mean? So it's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's just a thing. It's just, this is my life.
I haven't changed. Like, that's how I've always been. Like,
yeah.
If I process something like that before, I'm going to process it like it now. And that's why I think, as you grow and as you build, people see you in different lights. But then if they ever take a step back and look, it's like, oh, no, this guy hasn't changed at all. And, that's, I don't know, for me, I don't know if that's like the right way to do things. This is just how I am. And it has opened a lot of blessings, but it has also come with a lot of like faults too. Being so generous is like, this is not people. I don't know. People come and go, or like they maneuver funny, or they switch up and stuff like that. And when they know that I'm not going to switch up, it's just easier. It's
easier, man. Yeah, because people, and that's a common, and it's funny because it's leading into the next question I was going to ask you. People change. It's part of life. You're going to evolve. You're going to become smarter, wiser. Some people get dumber, whatever, right? But in your case, you've always gotten wiser every year, and you've gotten better with your business, but also with you as a person, right? So I was curious to know, Check, you started the Stache with Chaz. It's been going great. But now recently, I don't know how recent, I could be talking out of school, maybe in the last year or so. Correct me if I'm wrong. How does it feel to go from full-time, 5-6 days a week, just cutting hair? Now you're 3 days a week, but you're actually really like into the DNA fabric of the business. You're helping the business grow. How hard of a shift was that for you? Because you go from cutting hair 5-6 days a week, and Chaz in the shop with you. Now Chaz is, he's a union barber, so he's not at the shop as much.
So that was like, it's a lot of shift changes, right? So like if you go back, we opened up the shop when I was 20 years old, right? So so at 20 I opened up the shop. And at
you
the
beat
time,
Chaz by 1 year.
Well, that's what you got. You got to do it younger than your predecessor. Right. Like whoever told you got to try to beat them. So we opened up, and the first years it's a lot of figuring out. This wasn't Chaz's first time, so I was very much under his wing, understanding how he does stuff and this and that. But in doing that, when you're so close to somebody, you see flaws a lot, right? So not saying that he did anything wrong, but I'm being a little more business than artist mind. Yeah. I had a very different approach to a lot of things, right? And not like Chaz isn't smart in his own ways, right? But he's very much an artist.
Chaz is an artist, yeah. I can vouch for that, yeah.
So in saying that, I insinuate that more because when you're an artist, you're really creative, but you don't think about numbers. You don't think about this. You don't think about that, and that's all I think about. You guys
compliment each other.
Yeah, we do. But in complimenting each other it's a lot of push and give. Like he wants to push to do this, and I'm just like pulling him back. Like, yo, we haven't finished this. Yeah. Yo, we haven't done this. We haven't done that. True. And not like we had any problems with it. We understood that. But running a business like that gets very hard, right? Because at the time, we were both still cutting a lot of celebrities. We were getting called for this. We were getting called for that. In our barbershop, reaped a lot of those benefits, but there's nobody really full time behind the wheel, right?
Right.
So the best way I could put it is just like you and your troops are in the middle of the field and y'all cutting down weeds trying to, though, if you don't take a step back and look what direction you're going to be running in circles for years and getting nowhere.
Absolutely.
You know, yeah, you're working. Yeah, you guys are maintaining, but where are you going?
There's got to be a path. There's got to be a path.
You got to take a step back and look what direction you want to go. And I think around now is going to be probably like 6-7 years ago, probably a little longer than that, I took a step back.
Okay.
I stopped cutting celebrities. I stopped doing that. I'm like, I'm just going to manage this. Like, I'd rather you will do that and I'll focus on this. Because if we both go, this is going to crumble.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is going to crumble. So I took a step back. Now, granted, I still cut every now and then, but I'm not there. I started I got hit for a job. Yo, Chaz here. Yo, Chaz here. So now it's like the opposite. You know, he used to always, you know, he was the one feeding me, giving me all the jobs, doing all the stuff. Now I'm like, if I get it, yo, here. You're already out there.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it wasn't about me doing better, me getting the hype. It was about getting the job done. So it doesn't matter. Like, if I can't do it, you do it. You know, and that's just what it is. It kind of goes right back to what I said. Get the job done.
Get the job done, yeah.
Doesn't matter who it is. So then I started like getting other my barbers that I felt like were adequate enough to do these jobs. So I started just feeding them like, here, you go do a job. And Chaz will call me. He's like, hey, man, we have this job. Who do you think is good in the shop?
Now, when you say job, you mean celebrities?
Yeah, like celebrities, managers, all these things.
Show business people.
Yeah, like house calls.
Yeah,
house calls and all that stuff. And in that circle, at the time, was a lot smaller, like barber group. And since we go back to when we started really blowing up, we have all these contacts. Like if you see a lot of these big name barbers or these barbers that are really doing it, not just like, you know, not knocking anybody, but these guys that have years of being on top of their game, a lot of those contacts we have directly. We have all these guys because we've been in it so long. Now, Chaz is way more in the limelight than I am. I've always been in the back.
You're in the cut.
I don't like the limelight. And I think as I gotten older, it's a lot more present, even on social media presence, on everything. I don't put anything up on anymore.
Yeah. I
don't maneuver. I don't have it on my phone. I'm not like blinded by any of that anymore.
Gotcha, man.
Like it helps the business, doesn't help me personally.
Yeah, because and also, you know, you're running the business to a certain extent, so you got to kind of keep your mind free to do certain things to expand the business.
Yeah.
And if you're constantly following ego, following influence,
well, that's the thing. It's like that's a lot what you see on there. It's like this and that, and I'm like, it's great. It does help business if you run the business right.
It's a necessary evil, but you don't have to be in it.
Yeah.
To make it work.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? Because it frees you up to, and I think that's a problem with a lot of business people and entrepreneurs. You know, that's why I started this podcast, to give people the game. Everybody wants to reap the benefits and the rewards, but they don't want to actually do the work.
And we live in a microwave world.
Yeah, microwave world.
Everybody wants everything in 30 seconds or less. And it's like, it just doesn't work that way. Like anything that is created that fast has no real core substance. Yeah. And it's like only having icing on your cake.
Correct.
After a while, it's gonna give you a stomach ache. You're like, there's no filling, there's no mass, man. There's nothing in it. So it's also one of those. It's just like you have to create something more pure, because after a while, people see through the BS, right? And when they see through it, you have to constantly reinvent yourself. Like it's kind of like you're jumping on waves and being trends, but when you do that, they all crash. So are you a surfer, or are you just a boogie boarder that's just on the bottom over here just getting these waves that are crashing? Like, nah, that's man, true. You got to go out into the ocean and be out there, you know, like be on your ship, be on your boat, create that, you know?
And I think that speaks to your amount of discipline and having that old soul that you have, because you put a lot into the brand Stache and a lot into the actual barbers. I look at your Stache Instagram or even at your personal one, or you guys are constantly promoting the actual barbers that work there.
Yeah.
It's not like, look at me, I'm Checo the barber. No, it's about,
that's one of the reasons,
it's about the team.
Well, that's one of the reasons, like, as you said, like I cut down my days, right? So I had, I've been very grateful. I had a pretty solid team, right, for almost 10 years straight. And then after my 10 years, people grow. Some of the barbers left. So I had to pretty much start building a new team, right? And it's normal for business. It was uncommon in my shop, so it felt a little weird, but take a step back, process it, don't act out of anger or anything like that.
Exactly.
And all that, and learn how to rebuild. So then I started rebuilding everything like that. But what was happening is people are used to what they know, right? They go into the shop, they see my face, they want to book with me. They want to, obviously the owner, they see the 10 years of Google reviews. They start, when you start looking up new clients are coming in and everything like that, they see owner under the title, they see this, they see that, they book with me, right? I don't think I'm better than any of my other barbers, like I never carry that ego, like I'm nicer than these guys or anything like that. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure that they were being fed too, So
and that's what a boss does.
Yeah. So I started just telling clients of mine, hey, if I'm too busy, go to them. And I started making myself. I started blocking off time, this and that. Not necessarily, I will take a hit on my pocket as long as we all eat better.
Yeah.
So I started doing that, but that strategy was only working to an extent. So then for 2 months, 3 months, I started just locking in reoccurrings and a certain clientele list. And then after I got that pretty much going, I locked my books. So you couldn't make an appointment unless you had an appointment, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't publicize it yet because I wanted to see how that looked for me. At the end of the day, I still have a daughter. I still have things I got to take care of. I still have to do this and that. And I still live off of what I work. Whatever the business makes is for the business. That's why I put so much into the business. But what I make is what I make, right? So I had to make sure that I was good. And after 2-3 months of figuring that out, that's when I made it public to the world. Like, I'm no longer taking appointments. Yeah, books are closed. Yeah. I have a small list of clientele, which fills out my months, fills out my week, like the days that I work, and that's it. I go in, I cut those people, and it's that. And that was able to feed a lot of my barbers because now I'm blocked. Nobody could book with me. They go to somebody else.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think the power in that, and I think this is where barbershops fail. So if you're a barber and you're listening, listen to this that Checo's saying. You cannot survive a business if you're the star. You cannot survive the business if you're the star. So I say that twice because in your case, you built such a great brand with Stache, you and Chaz, that the clients trust the brand so much that they're going to go to other barbers just off your cosign because they trust the brand.
Yeah.
I'll give you a perfect example. Juan Soto left the Yankees. I'm still a Yankee fan. You know why? Because I like Juan Soto, but I also love the brand of the Yankees.
Well, at the same time, it's just a lot of times, I don't know, you see that only in the barber game, right? And when you go to a barbershop, usually it's the barber that's pulling the clientele in. Mm-hmm. It's not the barbershop name, right? Mm-hmm. But in the salon world, it was never like that.
It was never like that. Yes, correct. They don't talk about that.
I went to cosmetology school.
Yeah.
I still talk to a lot of salon owners and this and that, which is why I maneuver my shop slightly different than most barbershops at the time. Now, a lot of barbershops are on the same page as I am. There's not, but mind you, I've been doing appointment only for 12 years. Mm-hmm. I've been offering water, coffee, all this stuff for 12 years. Stuff that wasn't as common. Not saying that people didn't do it. I wasn't inventing nothing. And, how now says not how you do it. It's not who did it first, it's how you do it.
How you do it. Yeah.
So it's there's nothing new under the sun type of deal. But I learned from them. I learned, like, if you build the brand, then you can maneuver whoever's in it and they're going to have a trust. And you build a brand. A brand is you like everything that's within the realm. We started with clothing, and then we did razors, caps.
Razor Rebel.
We did capes. We did hats. We done a bunch of shirts, sweaters, shorts, jackets. We started doing all this stuff.
Photo shoots with the models. I love that idea.
Yeah. I did. Because I learned that from the photo shoots that I did, right? So I've worked with Target. I've worked with like a Nietzsche and I've worked with all this like clothing brand and all this stuff. And I've been to enough photo shoots that I was the barber behind the scene, and I'm over here watching all this stuff,
learning as you go,
learning, and I'm like, oh, I could direct a whole photo shoot now because I've seen everything, and that's what I did. Nice. I got the models, I got the space, I did the hair, I did the makeup, I did the outfit changes, I did this and that, and I knew what shots I wanted, and I did a proper launch. Now, granted, when I did my shirts, I would just do the graphic, put up on IG.
No, I remember seeing that. Yeah, it was really nice aesthetic, man. That was you put that together really nice.
But then I was just like, what's the next level? I was like, doing a proper launch. Clothing brand, they do it 6 months before. Like, we're in winter now. They're working on their summer photo shoot. They're working on summer right now.
You got to be 6 months ahead.
You have to, right? So, because you got to know what style, what look you're doing, what this is and that, and then shoot for it. And then you use those months to see what works, see what doesn't work, marketing.
Cut the fat.
Cut the fat. And then you start doing, then 3 months ahead, you start doing your launch, your advertisement, your shoots. You start leaking this and that, getting the build up. So I learned all this, and that's when the shift kind of changed, right? And within that time, like me and Chaz, a lot of shifts changed. Chaz he went into like the union a couple years ago, and now he is the creative advisor pretty much for it. That's the title that he's under Stache. That's where the titles got changed on stuff. Because me and Chaz, we opened this up as a 50-50 partnership and everything like that. And then titles got changed and business got moved around. And that's when I became the CEO. Yeah. But this is like, that's a very behind the scene. Nobody really knows this, and I'm just speaking because we're talking on like a business thing and showing a lot of the back end of business stuff. So when you change your businesses, a lot of times barbershops, they just make their money. They're like LLC and they pay their employees. This is not, and they don't know how to scale or like move up, right? So first thing I did was get a good accountant. Figure out that and see what we're actually making. See what we're actually making. And we couldn't get by with just claiming the minimum and doing this. You can't do that, right? So as you grow, you see that you pay a lot more taxes and all that stuff. And then barbers get hit. I was like, we got to change this. We got to treat this like a business. So
are you guys keeping S Corp?
Yeah, so I'm an S Corp. So now I'm an S Corp, right? And that's when I became a CEO at X, Y, and Z. Nice. But not only did I do an S Corp, I also opened up everything as its own business, right? So now I opened one called Hiatus.
Okay.
Right?
Gotcha.
So Hiatus I got from this kid that used to come, he had his own clothing brand, this and that, and he had Hiatus. But I like the title Hiatus because it's kind of like, you're kind of like in the cut, in the background, and also it'll be like you left on a high note, right? So I asked him, I was like, hey, can I use that as a company, this and that, and got the permission, and I opened up Hiatus. So that is what technically owns anything that we do with clothing.
It's the umbrella, basically. Yeah, I got it. That's great.
So Hiatus has the clothes, right? And now I'm in the process. Well, I have the coffee as his own thing.
This is the guy we have right here.
So, but nice. That one also has his own umbrella. And then the Stache. Then I have the Stache Foundation, which has his own umbrella, right? And then I also have the Stache Real Estate, Checo Real Estate, which is what I do with my family, and that's his own umbrella, right?
Beautiful.
So now under the Stache S Corp, there's all these other actual businesses that run on their own, right? And they could all branch off and do their own thing. If somebody wants to come in and buy the coffee brand, they have nothing attached to the barbershop.
It's a separate entity. That's amazing. That's smart business.
Well, that's it, because I took it back and I was like, how scalable can you be as a shop, right? Most shops, you get busy and you start working more and more hours and that, or start charging more, but all that could reach a cap. You put a glass ceiling on your head, how much you could charge.
You need verticals.
So I started really honing in as how can I make my business scalable?
Yeah.
Not only for me, but for everybody, right? So if I make the shop more scalable, it could benefit more the barbers. If I make this more scalable, it could benefit this, it could benefit that. It all ties into each other. And when I started doing that is where the shift changed, like within like the background of the shop, as in like that's when I had to start taking time away from the shop.
Yeah, you have to nurture the verticals that you created.
Yeah, because like I always say, like, if you don't give something 100%, you can't expect
it to grow.
Pure results.
Yeah.
Like you have to, if you want 100% of results, you have to give it 100%. So I had to start taking a step back from the shop. But in doing that, I had to figure out how to do smart things. Another thing that I haven't seen barbershops do, that I've been trying to like put barbers on, is a lot of barbers have reoccurring appointments, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I locked all mine into contracts. So now they're on yearly contracts and they pay monthly, right? So I did this for 2 reasons.
Go ahead. I'm going to ask you a question after. Go ahead.
All right.
Yeah,
so there's 2 reasons, right? So as a barber, right, as an owner and everything like that, you know you make whatever a month, right? But it could fluctuate because it matters. This week was good, that week was bad, this and that. But you know more or less what you make. Go to the bank and tell them that. They don't care.
Yeah, they don't care.
Your yearly, or you reported that you make, I don't know, 100-something grand a year or whatever. They don't care. Every month it fluctuates. How am I going to give you a loan? You can have 2-3 dry months.
Yeah.
And yeah, at the end of the year you had great, but that's not consistent enough. So
they need to see a trend.
They need to see it. Because I was like, hey, I'm tired of using my money. I've been with the banks and this and that. How do people do it? I was like, they use the bank's money. Use the bank's money to grow this and that. They pay that, then they keep growing this and that.
Yep.
I started really, really honing into all that because I wanted to make everything scalable. If it's not scalable, and we have a shirt that says, if you're not evolving, you're dissolving. So
True.
I need to figure out how to evolve, how to keep growing as a business. And so in doing that, I said, if you want a reoccurring with me, you need to sign this contract.
And you're saying with the client itself?
Yeah, with the client. So they pay me monthly for all their monthly haircuts for their reoccurrings.
Every month it comes out of their account, just
comes
like
out of
a debit.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Just like any other membership, this and that. So now the banks see this, right? So they could see that I have 20 clients paying me
steady income
from whatever it is a month. I have different programs in it too, right? Like say some guy gets a haircut every week, haircut beard, shape up beard, haircut, then a shape up, all that. But it also comes with benefits. I give them give them 10% off merchandise. I give them 20% off our personal stuff. They're the first invited to any special events, any releases, any drops, anything like that. They get a quarterly like care package and all that stuff.
Wow, you basically are cultivating, already have cultivated like the barber Patreon.
Yeah.
Because, in podcasting, you got Patreon where you charge your members a certain fee every month and they get added videos.
Yeah, but now they also don't have to worry about like bringing cash or getting charged like, like they pay on card and then they get charged taxed on top of that. And then they want to like make sure I get taken care of tip. It's done. They have a monthly bill. It comes out. They don't have to worry about ever anything like that. If they have an appointment that needs to be switched or moved around, I take care of them, obviously. So I have about 20 to 25 clients that are on that contract.
That's beautiful.
And I get paid off the month from the beginning of the month. Boom. It's all in the account and everything like that. And I started showing other barbers this because they want to grow. They want to do this stuff. But I'm like, if you take whatever money you have and you profit and you try to keep on growing, you're going to be spending and you're back at zero. How about you keep your money? You show the bank that you make money. You get their loan, then you build off of that.
You play with the bank's money.
Play with the bank's
money. Pay it
money.
back. Don't get hit with the interest. If you have to get interest, make sure it's a low interest loan that you're getting. But the key is to use other people's money to make yourself successful.
That's
the name of the game.
That's the next level of it, right? Because everybody, there's levels to everything like that. Everybody could build up their money, hustle, and get their money to open up a business, right? But then once you open it, think about it. A lot of people just die just at that entry level.
Yeah.
That's entry level. Owning a business, sorry, like a lot of people's like, I want to build up to be entrepreneurs and that or have my own business. That's still entry level.
There's many avenues you have to go through in business once you have it established to create those different verticals that can create more exponential growth and more profit for your business. I mean, it's 101 that a lot of people don't know, and this is why I love that you're here to giving these barbers that are listening, the young barbers, the game, because no one knows it, and no one's gonna tell you this either. Like,
I had to figure this out on my own.
Yeah, same thing with me. In my business, I had to figure it out. I have an S corp myself. No one told me that. I got with a great CPA, and he put me onto the game, and I learned so many different things. And I'm like, wow, why didn't no one tell me this 10 years ago? Because they didn't even choose to understand it themselves. But the fact that you're doing it, and the reason I stopped when you told me about the idea about the contracts. I was sitting in my brother-in-law's shop like a month ago because my brain's always going, even though it's not my business.
Yeah,
I'm like,
he's a great barber. I know him for many
Eric,
years.
Right? Shout out Eric. Shout out my brother-in-law Eric, man.
Yeah.
He always says great things
that
about you.
Lou stopped coming to me to go to Eric. Yeah.
You let the cat out the bag.
Yeah, he
he
was one of my clients.
Well, listen, I know you got people in contracts now. If there's ever an emergency, if Eric goes to Puerto Rico, I can just call you and get that love.
I got you, man. I got you. I'll keep you in the thing.
It's still family, bro. It's still family.
I'll give you the passcode.
But my eyes lit up when you said that because I was in his barbershop and I'm just constantly thinking, and because I like to see other people grow too. So not just like my friends, my family, but anybody. And I'm like, car washes do a monthly thing where they charge you a certain amount.
But that's new in the car wash game.
But that's new in the car wash game, yeah. But I started thinking there should be a program that barbers are doing, and boom, look at you, what you just told me.
Yeah, I've been doing it for
amazing.
I think almost I'm on my third year.
That's innovative, man.
Yeah.
Do you know if that's like can you patent that? Is anybody like that could be like a
I don't think so because they are these franchise barbershops that like do that, like a membership barbershop.
Okay, like Supercuts. I don't mean to give them
not super. There's other ones. I can't think of their name on top of my head, but they are. But the thing with those are giant companies that open up barbershops and then they hire people. Yeah, they hire people and they pay them hourly and stuff like that. So it's a different realm, and I don't knock those barbers. If you get your foot in the door, you get your foot in the door. Like I don't knock a supercut, because that could just be a person coming out of cosmetology school, and that's the only person that gives them a job. Yeah. And if they have the passion, they'll grow and they'll figure it out. They'll figure it out, and they'll probably go to another place. But that's like if you're a chef and you're gonna knock them for working at McDonald's or something at first. Nah, man. Yeah, you can't knock them. If they're passionate or if that's what they really want to do, then they'll hopefully potentially get grow bigger or get out of there or stuff like that, or keep on expanding. And some people, they don't. They just in there for their money, and that's all right. And that's something else that I've learned within owning this shop, right? Like I said, I used to try to put a lot of people on, and I quickly learned that there's a lot of dark spaces between the stars, right? And as in like you're a star, I'm a star. There's a couple of stars that we know, right? They shine bright. They bring light to other people. They do all this stuff. But the only reason we shine is because of the dark spaces. So I've learned to appreciate it. I can't make everybody a star, right? I can't put this person in that realm, right? Some people are just good at working and they're good at that. You can't knock them though. No. You can't knock them because they allow certain, like I wouldn't be able to shine. I wouldn't be able to do Stache Foundation without the barbers that are right there next to me.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you have to be that star. Like Chaz he's a star, right? He shines. This is not. He gives light to a lot of people. And sometimes he gets frustrated when it's like, this person's not doing this, or like they're not. And I was like, I get it, Chaz, but there's a lot of dark spaces between stars.
This is true, and sometimes those dark places will illuminate eventually, but you gotta let them grow at their own pace.
Yeah.
You can't force that.
And I'm not saying like that it's dark, like that they are dark or they're not stars. It's just like there is a lot of dark spaces between them, and by saying that, it's just like you have to be appreciated of those dark spaces. Like if we can't be here without them. If we were all stars, then none of us would shine.
And we were all in a dark place ourselves at one point. Yeah. So, it's like you pay it forward, and hopefully the next people come on and they understand it. Yeah. Dude, it's amazing. I want to switch gears real quick. I do want to talk about all the philanthropy stuff you're doing with Hope Inc. and how they recognized you. But one small tidbit before we get to that. This is for the young barbers listening that want to own a business. Tell them the benefits of an S corp. Like what can benefit them from having an S corp versus an LLC? If you could shed some light on that.
So a S corp pretty much it just changes your LLC. So if you have LLC, pretty much you make money and then you pay your yearly taxes at the end of the year
It's
or
limited
quarterly
liability,
or
yeah.
anything like that, right? If you're S corp, then you pretty much pay yourself what like you're pretty much on salary. You become an kind of like an
Employee
employee
of the company, yeah.
of the company. So now the company, so if something happens or whatever, X, Y, and Z, it doesn't fall on you. You take yourself out from being liable because that's what LLC is.
That's what LLC is.
Yeah, it's you're liable for everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? So S corp, it kind of gives you that umbrella that shelters you from it being able to grow, and then behind the scenes is that you could control whatever you want to make your salary be, right? So if you want to be like, hey, my business is doing great, I pay myself this yearly and this is and that, and that's what you pay the taxes on. There's a lot more, but like I'm not the best person to describe those things. I just
But it's a smart transition when you're gonna own a barbershop to do that.
yeah, and but the thing is, a lot of young barbers, they are very much on themselves, right? Like even if they own a barbershop, it's very just them. Like I see a lot of barbershops, barbers, they're going to like salon suites and studios and all this stuff,
Yeah.
which is great. But in doing that, you also got to know the game that you're playing, right? You could be very successful in those suites and everything like that, but you have to be in that realm of heavy promotion on social media.
Yeah, you gotta become an influencer.
Yeah. And that becomes a whole nother job. So if you're a busy barber, it's harder to become an influencer.
Yeah.
Right. And some people balance it well, but that's some. And a lot of these young barbers, they think that they could just, I have my little following, I make this and that, and they could do this. But at the end of the day, that's not how the general public works. That might be how your small demographic works if you're a young barber, but you can't survive off of just your demographic. I learned that when I was 15 to 18, I worked in a barbershop, and then I switched to the shop that I started working with Chaz. It was a big price gap. My boys couldn't afford it. So that's when I learned, it's like, I can't live off of my boys. I can appreciate whichever one comes to me, but I can't put food on my table depending on my boy.
You can't be the homie barber.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to grow your own following and grow your own
So it's just like,
list.
I got to create more people that I don't know that comes to me. And a lot of times with these salon suites, you limit that because people that don't know you don't just feel comfortable going to a suite like that.
Yeah, it's niche.
It's very niche, right?
Yeah.
And there's owning a shop, especially now for 12 years, it shows that when you have a storefront, when you have this, people like to see stuff. And then sometimes people don't even go until they see that it's been there long enough.
Mm-hmm. They want to see a level of lineage of time.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know, like, these guys 10 years, 4.8 on Google. You know, people respect those things.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
So it's one of those that's just like they do respect that. And I know there's older barbers that go into that and they have their niche market and they're okay with that. And I commend them. And I commend young barbers that want to do it, but also understand the realm that you're going into. Like you have to be full-time advertising because you don't have a storefront. Yeah. People can't just see like it's the whole suite that is being promoted. You're just like walking into like doctor's office.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's just like you're behind all these layers that makes it harder for people to access you.
You're limiting yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And God bless those that do that business format, but I'm still a big believer of the storefront brick and mortar when it comes to shops, barbershops in particular.
Yeah. I mean, look, and like I said, I don't knock it. It's just sometimes these young barbers, they just want to jump straight into that. And I'm like, there's a reason why barbershops have been recession-proof for so many years, for so long, and they have so much success. Now you're seeing a lot of the success, and you want to just jump straight to that. You have to understand, like a lot of times people see this stuff, but they don't understand how to get there or know why. You know, even when I teach people how to cut hair, I was like, I got to teach you why you do this, not just how to do it.
Exactly. I love that concept, man. And it's been working for you. So whoever's listening to this, don't get sweet. Get your brick and mortar. Get your S corp together, man. Checo's giving you the game. I'm thankful that you came on the platform, brother. I want to switch gears because I do want to highlight, besides the great businessship you're showing me, and being a great and growing the Stache brand. I want to talk about the stuff you're doing, philanthropic. I'm always gonna mess that word up, but you're a philanthropist in your own right. Hope Inc.
I've never been called that, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah, you're a Hispanic organization for People's Empowerment Award for civic service in the Union County area. So this award was given to you by the Hope Inc. organization. I'm assuming it's correlated with the nonprofit foundation you have. But for those that are listening, can you just talk about what that meant to you, getting that award, and what you're doing with the Stache Foundation?
Well, to be really frank, I was very surprised to get it.
I saw that when
yeah.
You were shocked. They surprised you.
Yeah. Well, because kind of like when you're in the works of things, I'm like, I still feel like I haven't done anything.
Tunnel vision. Yeah. You're so busy on what you're doing.
I still haven't felt like I've done anything. So I had to like take a step back and actually like go and be there and be like, let me be accepting of it. But pretty much it started from the very beginning. I want to say my roots of giving back started when I was around like 14. I was in the JROTC program in high school.
Nice.
In my high school. And then at that time I was doing $5 haircuts in my basement, $5 to $8 haircuts. But then the sergeant told me like, hey, can you come into the room and cut us for like uniform days or when we have big meets and all that stuff? And then he pulled me aside. He said, hey, these guys I'm going to take care of because they can't, family isn't fortunate enough to like really afford. I just wanted to make sure that they get their haircut, but I want to take care of them. And I saw how he was like that in many other ways. That was just one of the ways that he shined his light. He took care of a lot of those kids. And I saw that. And that really like sparked it because he gave me an opportunity and it's kind of like very much paid for. So then I've always had a touch with that. Like I've worked with homeless shelters in Newark, at a very, like I was still like I think in high school and stuff like that, just cutting like the kids for the moms and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And then Chaz linked up with a homeless shelter in Montclair that we would do work with. And at first, when I would train a barber, I say, you have to go do a day over there. You have to go and cut a day and cut the homeless, just to humble everybody, show them that's just like, hey, man, this is really a gift. Making somebody feel good and look good is a gift. No matter what they're going through, after they leave a barbershop is one of the greatest feelings that you could get. It's a time, a little peace. You're actually touching somebody, so you're connecting energies and all that stuff. And we've done that for a while. And then I actually linked up with this guy, Amir, that he owns this company called the Buzz Box, which is what he does is that he goes to like boys and girls clubs and creates like either a bus or a barbershop in them. And he gets barbers to come in and cut hair for them, for the kids. And then I started linking up with him, and it was just like two minds that, liked doing the same things, could see the uses, full circle type of thing. And he said, hey, I'm looking to do one in Union. And I was like, for another full circle one, I was like, oh, I used to go to the Boys and Girls Club in Union. So then we ended up building a barbershop in there. And for like about 4 years, I would go there every Monday and cut kids.
That's so beautiful, man. Yeah. Wow.
So
how did that feel for you, doing that to give back?
It's a good feeling. Kids humble you real quick because they'll be like, they know me. I'm not, I wasn't in my barbershop. I wasn't getting called to do a house call where people kind of know your status. These kids, they know me. They was like, that kid ain't cutting my hair. We don't know that guy. Yeah. So at first I was just in there like, all right, man, like these kids didn't want to get a haircut from me. And then I was able to cut one, and then they saw the skills. And by the time I was leaving there, all the kids would just dap me up, say hi, this and that. Kids are the purest form. Yeah, so it's just like, and kids don't trust everybody. They don't open up right away. Some kids talk to you, but they don't open up to have that trust right away. So you have to earn that from kids. And I love that. I love that because after a while, I would go in there and they would know me and they would all sign up to do haircuts. Some kids wanted to learn how to cut hair, so I was teaching them and showing them other avenues, how to do certain things, and just connecting and being a positive influence as Chaz was towards me at 9 years old.
Paying it forward, man.
Yeah. So and that's what really inspired me to do the Stache Foundation, because there's a bridge that doesn't connect, and I was just trying to create a bridge, pretty much. A lot of companies always have the idea that going to special events and cutting kids or doing this stuff is a great idea, and for them it's a public image and they know it feels good and it's great, but there's no connection to paying these barbers to do it, right? Because most of them, they don't have a lot of barbershops. They're not as incorporated, or they're not as business,
savvy.
Savvy to do it. So they're like, oh, like, can you just do it? And they're like, oh, like, are you guys paying? It's like, well, we can't just pay you. You have to be an employee of mine, or you have to be this and that. So, but what they can do is that they could pay a nonprofit to do it, because then they use it as a tax write-off.
Yeah.
So exactly, I created a nonprofit.
Yep.
Right? So now if you have a company and you're like, hey, I want to do something here, this and that, cool, what's your budget? This is not. This is what I need for this many barbers, X, Y, and Z. You could pay. Now you write it off as your taxes. Now you get it clear. Now these barbers get paid for their time and stuff like that. And everybody,
it's like a donation, essentially. Yeah. That's very smart.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I built with the Stache Foundation, because there's a lot of kind of like bridges that aren't being like crossed over because they just don't know how.
And no one knows the information, and I think everybody wins, right? Because you're able to.
You could do. Well, sorry, I mean, I've cut kids for free with no strings attached, plenty of times, right? But like I said, kids, if you do it once, it's not that much of an impact. Mm-hmm. It's something that has to be consistent with kids for kids to really feel it. Like at the end of the day, I'm not a celebrity. Like if they see, a basketball player or somebody like that, they're going to remember that for the rest of their life.
Right.
A barber gives them a free haircut. They're like, yeah, that's cool. And then that's it. Even though it is impactful, it's not a long-lasting effect. For it to be long-lasting, it has to be some type of consistency.
Correct.
Right. And not only is it helpful for the kid, because now you have a nurturing barber that's showing them that if you look good, you do good, and you feel good.
You feel good, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
so you're instilling that confidence in the kids, right? Because anytime you have anything important in your life, you always want to look your best, because you want to feel your best going into the situation. So sometimes families are less fortunate that aren't able to always be able to just pay for this and that. So I'm like, cool, you guys don't have to. I'll look at a company, right, that in the town, I work with the Boys and Girls Club, like, hey, you guys have kids, let's fundraise, let's do this, let's get companies, and those companies do it as a donation. They write it off. The company wins. They're donating this. That money's going towards the barber, and the kids are getting free haircuts.
It's a good cause.
It's a good cause, but it's also like, it's not taking anything away from the barber at the end of the day, because like at the end of the day, right, what would usually happen is the barber will do it once, but then you'll never get the barber to do it again, because it's like, hey, man, I can't keep doing that. I also have kids and stuff I got to take care of. I got to get paid. And if you look at any big corporation, a lot of people, they'll donate a little bit of time for free, but nobody really works for free, no matter what it is. I'm not saying like we have to be profitable in it. That's why it's called a nonprofit. The money has to go back into whatever it is, whether it's the event space, the barber, and all this stuff. But a lot of times people don't connect that bridge, or the barbers don't have that lane to go into for them to get paid. They don't have a nonprofit. They don't have a corporation that they build, so that way companies could properly pay them.
And I think that's what you're doing. You're creating the logistics of the foundation through having companies and having barbers understand that, hey, guys, we can all be in this together and fundraise, to your point, so that someone can donate their time or donate their money, which is a tax write-off, which helps the company, which helps the children get free haircuts, which gives them the confidence. So it's such a win-win across the board.
Yeah.
Right? It's a no-brainer. And I think doing that type of civic work is needed, because essentially, barbers, you guys are cool. You guys are influencers. You guys are artists in your own right. But giving back to the less fortunate, or just being a blessing in someone's life for 30 minutes or 20 minutes, etc., it shines something on them forever.
Yeah.
Forever. So doing that, but that's one thing. Like, you can have that coffee table conversation all the time. Yo, we should do a fundraiser. But actually doing it,
Yeah, it's
and
a
then
whole nother
seeing
thing.
it grow. Ooh,
Well, yeah,
that's like
it's
a
growing.
good,
Like
it's a
I
great
did something
feeling.
with the New Jersey Red Bulls and Horizon Insurance, Horizon NJ Insurance.
Nice.
Yeah. So we went to the Red Bull Stadium. We cut a bunch of kids from Kearney, and the Stache Foundation is not limited to my barbers. I had barbers from other barbershops.
Collaboration. You know, you want to help.
It's like, hey,
yeah.
let's
all
do it.
get in this.
And they came to us because it's like, hey, we called every shop in Kearney, and none of them wanted to do it.
Wow.
Because they're a lot of barbers. They work and they work for themselves, and they think like that. If there's no money, well, if there's no money, it's hard for you to pull out from a shop to come and cut hair.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sorry, and I don't think the barbers are wrong from that. I just think it's wrong because they don't see the missed opportunity, and on top of it, they don't see how to create an opportunity, right? Like, I've done it plenty of times, but granted, there's been times I'm like, hey, man, I can't take off a Friday to go cut for 5 hours for free for this, and that. Like, I'm sorry, man, that's too much of a hit for me as a company.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how but I'm like, that's when I started learning, like, all right, so what is your budget for this? What is this? Like, what can you do? Or like, hey, can we fundraise for this? Can we build a capital so that way I could pay these barbers for their time?
Correct.
Because the thing is that, like, a lot of times in any other company, like, I take the barber industry very serious, and I want to be well respected. And it's because when I got into this industry, it wasn't a respected craft. You know, when I was in high school and I was in my early years, I told people, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm a barber. They're like, oh, like, what else are you going to do with your life?
Yeah, they never took it as an actual profession that can last forever.
Yeah. So I know that the more I start being around business people or companies or understanding how companies and corporations and everything work, nobody works for free. And it's because you think less of us. You think that we will work for free.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm also kind of like elevating so you to take us more serious, but also helping and giving back, like tying everything in together.
And I think you've been doing a great job at it, brother, from, you know, everything you told me with the YMCA. And then the big thing for me is the collaboration of other barbers, other companies coming together, putting the ego to the side. Everybody still gets paid. Everybody gets to donate, etc. But it's for the children and for the less fortunate. And I think I'm excited for the next 5 years to see what that turns into.
Yeah.
And I would love to have you back on when that comes so we can talk more about that, because that really is like a passion project for me. Is, you know, I've spoken at schools for kids in Newark, and, you know, we've done, I haven't done any fundraisers, but now that I have you, we might have to talk as well about that. Yeah. But my heart is in passion for the less fortunate, and to see the smile on these kids' faces when they get something that can give them character and give them some type of confidence. So that's beautiful that you're doing that, brother. Yeah. So I'm excited to hear the next news for that. That's awesome. Seriously, man. Oh, man, Checo, we were on a ride, brother. Yeah. We were on a ride, man. I wish I could have another hour with you, man. But, you know, I know you're busy, and we got to do a part 2 soon, because there's still more that we have to touch on.
Yeah.
But, brother, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your wisdom that you shared here on the podcast. For anybody that's listening that wants to start their own barbershop or start their own business, I think you're a perfect example of somebody that came from discipline and hard work and ethics to really make that into a thriving business, not just selfishly, but to help everybody in your camp and everybody in your community. And I think that's you are an example of what a good human being has a good idea and makes a good business out of it. So I really wish you nothing but more luck and success in the future, my brother.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. Before I get out of here, I got one last question for you. This is my mastermind questions, but we talk so much, I'm only going to ask you one, because I don't want to, you pretty much answered a lot of them without me even asking you. So I got one quick question for you. What's the last thing you purchased that changed your life?
Last thing I purchased that changed my life? Oh, man.
It always gets everybody.
Yeah. Honestly, I want to say Clippers, man.
Wow.
Clippers.
That's enough.
I've purchased a lot of things after I purchased my first set of Clippers. I think that's the last thing that I've purchased that like has such an impact and changed my life. Other things make me happier, this and that, and X, Y, and Z. But changed my life was Clippers, man.
Wow. That's a very powerful answer.
Yeah.
Damn, you tied it all in with that.
Yeah.
That was perfect, brother. Wow. And as you can see, you're thriving today as it is because of those Clippers you brought a long time ago, man. So, brother, much more blessings to you, man. Before we get out of here, please tell everybody where they can find you, what you got going on, all your products. Please, the floor is yours, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, just follow Stache Barbers on Instagram, Twitter, or X nowadays.
Yeah, X.
On all social media platforms. And then I have the Stache Life. That's STACHE. Life is LYFE. That goes for all the clothing, all the coffee, the beer collaboration I just did with Twin Elephant.
Yes, Chaz was talking about that.
Yeah, we just had a crazy collaboration with Twin Elephant, which is an amazing brewery.
You got to make another one, man.
Yeah, no, it was great.
It's great.
You could get it. They have it available now.
Okay.
They have it available there, and stuff like that. And it is in certain bars and restaurants also.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, everything that we have besides the haircuts is all on like Stache Life, Instagram, and then everything that has to do within the barbershops, which they intertwine together. That's all on the Stache Barbers.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Guys, you heard it from the man himself, where to find him. Checo, thank you again for your time, brother. Much more success to you and to the team. And hopefully the next one we can have the whole shop here, man. We'll do it at the shop.
Yeah, we can sound like that. Yeah, I'm with it. Love,
brother,
Luke. Always good seeing you.
Always a pleasure, brother. Absolutely, man. Thank you, man. Guys, that is a wrap on episode 31 of I'm an Artist, Not a Salesman podcast. If this podcast inspired or moved you to follow your dreams or aspirations, please subscribe to our Apple, Spotify, and YouTube platforms by typing in Luis Guzman, I'm an Artist, Not a Salesman, and clicking that subscribe button. Please make sure to follow my Instagram handle, I'm an Artist, Not a Salesman, for further content and updates. I am thankful for every listener. I pray you have a blessed one, not a stressed one. Peace.